Hey, what's going on? Ryan here with Intersection Records. And another Monday with Miles Davis. Last week we talked about the Miles Davis and the modern jazz giants. Check out that video. And out of the hat, I picked this 1967 album, Sorcerer. Sorcerer is the third album of Miles Davis's second great quintet, if you will, featuring Herbie Hancock on piano, Ron Carter on bass, the great Tony Williams on drums, Wayne Shorter on saxophone, and of course Miles Davis. And we'll check out this vinyl here. We got the green see-through vinyl. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, this is a great record. It's a little bit of a misunderstood or album that is slightly controversial for a couple different reasons. I guess one of which is Miles doesn't write any songs on this record, which he had not been on record without a writing credit since 1960. And also it's this is Cicely Tyson, by the way, on the cover. So Miles, the ESP record that was two previous. The first album of the second classic quintet had Frances Taylor, who is married to Cicely Tyson, is on this cover. They were dating, although he was dating Betty Davis, or Betty Maybury, who would become Betty Davis. I think the conversation may have went like this when Betty saw this album. Hey, honey, who's that girl? What girl, sweetie? That girl on the album cover. Oh, she's just a friend. Anyway, Miles would end up marrying Cicely in 1981 and really remain friends the rest of his life. So, the second classic quintet with Wayne Shorter formed. They started doing gigs in 64. Now, on Seven Steps to Heaven, from 1963, as early as 63, Ron Carter, Herbie Hancock, and Tony Williams were in a quintet with George Coleman on saxophone, and Coleman ends up leaving. Sam Rivers comes in. Think about the Live in Tokyo record, which is awesome. And by the fall of 64, after pushing a little bit, Miles gets the guy that he wants, which is Wayne Shorter. He's still seeking to replace Coltrane, who leaves in 60 or 61, early 61 maybe. And he now has a composer. He's plucked the great composer from the Art Blakey Jazz Messengers, and now he has a guy that he can go into the studio with, who's going to bring compositions. Again, Miles does not write on this record, but his band is in full flight. So the band gets together in 64. ESP, the first record that has Frances Taylor on the cover, is released in January of 65. Miles has hip surgery in April of 65. Right when he gets his cast off in July of 65, he falls and breaks his leg. The band's waiting around, but the band's eager to wait around because they know that they're working with Miles, and they know that the wait's going to be well worth it. They get back together in November. They go to the Plug Nickel in Chicago, birthplace of Tony Williams, and they really do seminal work there in those 2 weeks. There's 7 sides, 7 sets of that material that's been released archivally over the years, and we will talk about that record at some point. Tony Williams suggests that they play anti-music at this shows in Chicago. Anti-music meaning unexpected moves, unexpected moments, moves at any moment, not doing what is expected in bebop or post bop or hard bop. Not quite getting free jazz, but getting close. You know, Miles then is off a few months in '66. He has a liver infection. And, you know, ultimately they put out in early 1967 Miles Smiles record, the second record, which is a phenomenal record. Think Footprints. And then in May of '65, this is recorded and not released until, excuse me, May of '67. This is released. So Miles Smile came out previously in '67. This comes out in October of '67 and is fantastic. This, you know, this band is really about halfway through their run. So they form in fall of '64. By June of '68, they disintegrate and splinter off into what becomes Bitches Brew and so forth, and in Silent Way. You know, Miles is also halfway through his working career as a musician. This also marks a trilogy of albums featuring wives and girlfriends. So ESP has Frances Taylor on the cover. She's also on the album cover of Someday My Prince Will Come. Cicely Tyson's here, and then Phillies of Kilimanjaro has Betty Davis on the cover. And we're going to talk about this record in depth. You know, Tony Williams really dominates this record in a lot of ways. He describes the band flying like a V in an interview. And really with him spear pointing that V, and they're moving forward into new directions in music. He says by June of '68, it's more of an X with Miles in the middle and everybody branched off in their four quadrants and not really playing together. This is a good example of flying like a V, and we're going to talk about it track by track. Tio Mercero is the producer. There is one song recorded from 1962, and we'll get to that song. It does feature Wayne Shorter. So again, Shorter doesn't join the band until '64, but there is a track that is done on this record. It's a 1 and 55-second kind of infamous song that has Shorter on it, along with some other guys, Paul Chambers and Jimmy Cobb. Anyway, this album opens up with the great Prince of Darkness. Some people refer to Miles Davis as the Prince of Darkness, but this is a Wayne Shorter song. Just strong and memorable melodies. Miles and Shorter weaving in and out, answering each other's thoughts. You know, Williams just dominates on the ride cymbal. You know, last week we talked about Kenny Clarke inventing the style. Kenny Clarke's born in 1914, right? Well, Tony Williams is only 21 years old here. And he's doing the ride cymbal run, and he's adding bombs, and he's adding floor tom blasts, and really just dominates this album. There's not a lot of structure on this, so there's a lot of movement, areas for movement within these songs. Prince of Darkness is one of the highlights of the album for me. Pee-wee is the next song. This was recorded on May 24th of '67. It does not feature Miles on it at all. It's just a lush ballad. Hancock and Shorter are front and center here. So again, it's a quartet here. There's no Miles. It's one of the rare instances where Miles doesn't appear on one of his own albums. And it's the first time, again, that Miles is not on a track since 1960. Mascalero's the next song. And again, Mascalero is another highlight on this record for me. Here's the back of the record. Mascalero, I kind of wrote in my notes, it's like 5 jazz cowboys on horsebacks in the New Mexico setting sun and riding off on a journey to discover new, again, directions in music. It's really beautiful. It's mysterious. it's the only song on this record that would ever be performed live by the band. There's a good example of it on Live in the Fillmore. There's a good example of it on um, uh, Black Beauty. And not only did Miles's band do it, but Wayne Shorter's band performed it live, and Chick Corea actually performs it on album. Mascalero is a wonderful song. The last song on the first, and Mascalero incidentally is a Wayne Shorter composition. And we'll talk about Miles loved the fact that, Miles is 40 here. So he's in the middle of his second great quintet. He's in the middle of his career. He's in the middle of his life. If 40 makes you middle age, he's in the middle of his life. Unfortunately, he would not get to 80, as we know. But The Sorcerer is the last song on side one. This is a Herbie Hancock song, and it's really one of the best songs as well on this record. Ron Carter is just bumping to the rhythms that Tony Williams is laying down here. And but then Shorter and Davis come in, and it's just so good. They're having a conversation, and Shorter's speaking, and then Miles is answering, and then Miles is speaking, and Shorter, and then Tony Williams joins the conversation. He's an unconventional drummer because he's improvising. He'll even get off the basic beat just to add things in. It all works, and really he becomes the standard torchbearer of modern day jazz drumming. Him and Elvin Jones, but he's younger than Elvin Jones. Unfortunately, passes away at a very young age from a complication from a surgery. I think he had gallbladder surgery in 1997. He's only, like 52 years old. Anyway, it's magical. It's the conversations, the bombs by Williams, some of Herbie Hancock's best songwriting with the Miles Davis band. Flip the album over, you got a song, Limbo. Again, we're in the middle here, right? We're in limbo. And it's a shorter song. Wayne Shorter, 7 minutes and 13 seconds. The lack of structure gives the listener a chance to use his imagination and to escape. This is probably not good. This is certainly far from a perfect album. And it's not Miles's best work, and it's not his best work with this band. But it's a damn good record. And Limbo maybe is one of the weaker songs. There's one obviously weaker song in this record, and we're going to talk about that at the end. Limbo is a nice piece of music. Maybe not as strong as Prince of Darkness or Mascalero, but it's damn good. It shows Wayne gets kind of free here. Again, Wayne's exploring new territory. Coltrane would die in 1967. Wayne Shorter's about to take that torch. And nobody can take the torch at Coltrane. It's impossible and still hasn't been done. Michael Brecker approached areas there, but nobody's going to ever approach Coltrane. And then we have Veneta. Again, the cowboys out on the high plains in the desert in New Mexico. Jazz pioneers looking out. And now they're at the vista and they're reflecting on Veneta of the rest of this album, the accomplishment that this is. This is great. Is it ESP? Is it Miles Smiles? I don't know. It's somewhere in the middle. Again, we're in limbo. Because what would follow is different too. We're approaching the electric era. Veneta is just really pretty. Could you have stopped at 38 minutes with Veneta, a reflective piece? I think maybe you should have, but no, they don't. Nothing Like You is up next. Nothing Like You has vocals on it by Bob Dorough. Dorough. Dorough? Think about the show Schoolhouse Rock. Conjunction Junction, what's that function? Bob Dorough wrote Conjunction Junction. you know, about butts and ands and ors. And it's just a really kind of goofy, corny, jarring 1 minute and 55-second piece. That being said, I've also heard people say it's like the "that's all, folks" type of thing, where it's a tongue in cheek. And this was a tribute to Cicely Tyson because he wanted a kind of a love song for her, even though he's dating Betty Davis, right? Is it a mistake to put it on, or is it genius to put it on? I think my buddy Derek sums it up and says he thinks it works. And I think I'm starting to wonder if it doesn't work. I think it might work. Again, it takes the album to 40 minutes from 38. It doesn't need to be there. But the fact that it does, and the fact that Jimmy Cobb, Paul Chambers, Miles Davis, Wayne Shorter, you know, with Frank Rehek on trombone and Willie Bobo on bongos, you know, again, vocals by Bob Doro. This is a great album. Is it his best album? No. Do I love the see-through green vinyl? Yes, it's awesome. And we are going to pick out next week's album right now. Here we go. I like my new Miles shirt, by the way. Where are we going to end up next week? Let's find out here. And we got it. We got one. We are going to go with 7 Steps to Heaven. How does that happen? 7 Steps to Heaven is the first time that the Second Great Quintet, and it's a controversial record too. You know, we're gonna enjoy that. 7 Steps to Heaven came out released in '63, but recorded in 2 main sessions in April of '63 and May 14th of '63. That May 14th session does feature George Coleman, Coleman, Hancock, Carter, Williams, and Miles. 7 Steps to Heaven. Check it out on Apple Music. Check it on Spotify. Go buy it. We're going to see you next week on Monday with Miles. Peace out. See ya. Bye.